Land mines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives I Guess, and I refuse to believe it's not butter. But do me a favor and hit that like button, or it's your fault when the apocalypse starts. And on our last live stream, we went in on the Kizer Bugai. So let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We've got the micarta scales. We've got the thumb hole. Let's flick the hole. And we got right around 3 inches of 154 cm steel. There we go. So I bought this thing and I wanted to carry one for a long time, and I got distracted and got pulled off to other things, and I finally got around to it. I was very excited about that. I enjoyed carrying it. It did a good job for me as a day-to-day user. However, we got into Cardboard Slayer. Now, let's go through the timeline of events, and I'll show you kind of what happened there, the why, what, and wherefore. But I got everything written down. So when we started on this thing, I checked the edge quality on it, and it was a 428. It felt like it was pretty dull out of the box. The edge wasn't great, if I remember right, and when I was cutting stuff with it at work, it didn't really feel like it was a great cut. So I stropped it before we started, and I got it down to a 340. So I figured, all right, cool, it responded to the strop well, and I figured we're going to be sharpening this within the first 30 minutes. It actually went for an hour and 10 minutes, and then over here in the belly, we hit a 651. So we sharpened the blazes out of it. We gave her what for and brought her down to a 113, which was a really good number. I was happy to see it. So, that was a good sharpening. That's one of the better sharpenings I've gotten done with my equipment. So, we started in, and for that 113, in an hour, we went to a 468 in the belly here. We went to a 413 towards the front, and the heel was a 290. We've seen a lot of steel wear like that, and it'll wear down, not quite as badly, but it'll wear into the 400s and kind of lock in there and stay there for a while. But at the 2-hour mark, we hit a 573 in the belly, a 420 towards the tip, and a 523 in here. We went for our next hour. There was a 523, a 547. There was a 463 somewhere in here, and then up towards the front of 523. Or 532, 463s. The numbers were a bit lower. I've seen that happen with other steels. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but the numbers dropped a little bit. We got 12 more minutes in. We got 12 more minutes in, 3 hours and 12 minutes, and it stopped cutting. And when I say it stopped cutting, I mean it stopped cutting. That's what we were getting out of it on back-to-back-to-back cuts. So we went ahead and stopped, and I checked the edge, and we had a 557 at the worst spot I could find. We checked, and we checked, and we checked, and we could only find a 529. Now, I'm not sure exactly what caused that, because we had the same 17 degrees that we always put on this when we sharpen it, and it usually helps the steel out quite a bit. And of course, I'm doing that because the same 17-degree bevel with the same fat mirrored polish, it kind of levels the playing field a little bit in my experience. That's what I understand's happening. But this is a thick slab of steel for something that's not super wide. It's not super wide, and it's a pretty thick chunk of steel. So there was a lot of resistance on those cuts. Those cuts took a lot of force to push through. Now, I will say the ergonomics were good enough. They held up for the first couple hours of cutting before it started to really hot spot, and it was hot spotting right here where all the pressure was being put. What I think happened is because the blade is thick, it's a bit of a chonk, and we don't have a whole lot going for it as far as real fine slicing power. I think what happened is it being a wedge was causing it to start cutting like garbage faster than the edge would have responded. Because at 557, it should have still cut for a while. But this was kind of all over the map. It was all over the map, and I really wish it would have been a smoother, a better experience with it, so I can show you guys what 154 cm really stacks up against really well. Because, of course, I wanted to stack this up against all the data points we have on D2, but this is the first data point that we've got since we started tracking things the way we do. It is what it is. We have another 154 cm knife to test out. I got a feeling that the blade geometry itself was impeding the cuts, and why it started cutting like trash earlier than it should have. The kind of cut that we were looking at, that's well past the 600s. That is a very, very devastated edge. And I think this boils down to blade geometry. And I will say right now, trying to sharpen this thing and get around this absolute boat prow of a tip right here, that sweep in the belly, That took some doing to get used to. Like, I still got a pretty consistent bevel that I'm happy with down the length of the blade. Like, I'm happy with this bevel. I'm happy with how it's sharpened. But I tried freehand sharpening this thing and trying to get it to follow around that belly and keep it consistent. That felt a little weird. I did an okay job with it. I couldn't get the edge I was satisfactory with out the freehand sharpening, so we took her back over to the work sharp and put her back on the fixed angle and straightened out all of my sins. But, you know, I was able to sharpen it, and I will say the freehand sharpening, the burr that came up was gigantic. That was a huge burr, you guys. It just did not want to come off either. Like, I could not get that burr to break off until I broke out like a ceramic stone and kind of stropped it on that before I went over to the diamond emulsion. That burr did not want to break off. However, I could barely get anything for a noticeable burr to come up on the work sharp, and, you know, up until I got into the high grit stones, and then you could feel a nice small burr, but it was really sharp and noticeable come up. And even then, trying to get that fixed angle around here, it was a challenge. I haven't dealt with anything that had this much of a sweep in such a short area before. And someone in the comments said it's because, like, they can't have like an angle of like 45 degrees on the tip of their blade, something like 45 degrees or less. Due to the Russian knife laws, which I don't fully understand. I don't know what that accomplishes, but if they're right, they're right. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't do that much research on it. I'm not a Russian knife onomist. But, you know, that was an interesting experience. It was interesting, and, you know, and again, I got to add the qualifier because somebody will mention it in the comments. You know, we can't count each individual cut. We averaged them out one time at 900 for a half hour, and we push a lot of cardboard across this edge. I felt like 154 cm, it should have done better, but again, like with the thick slab of steel, given how relatively narrow this is, it's not that wide. Again, I feel like that's probably what did the damage there. This is where we run into a bit of a knowledge gap on my end because I haven't really messed with this stuff. You know, I haven't really messed with a lot of stuff where it's like a thick piece of stock like this for something that is this, you know, I guess this narrow. It's some of this stuff is still a mystery to me. I'm learning this as I go, so bear with me. But let's take a look at our edge after I sharpened it again. And I think I counted a 129 on the edge tester. But we got a really nice edge. And of course, the boat prow right here, whenever you're in these cuts, it just kind of stops the cut right here because it doesn't really like following it around something that fast. You know, like an upsweep that hard, it doesn't like following it around. So, you know, that was frustrating. It was like, did I get that tip right or not? I can't tell. It was just a weird experience overall. But of course, you guys provided the edge sharpness tester through your channel memberships and super chat donations and what have you. So I will always be grateful for that support. How this works, if you haven't seen it, is it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip. The lower the number, the better. So let's see what I pop on this one. A 139. So when you get into the 120 to 140, you've got a really, really good edge. It's not, you know, it's not like surgical sharp. You're probably not going to be cutting a free hanging paper towel sharp with it. But that's shaving sharp, that's hair popping sharp. It's a really, really good edge. So the steel takes a good edge. I got a feeling the HRC on this is pretty good. But yeah, a huge part of what happened there is a complete mystery to me. So that was a bit rambly. Again, I am tired. I put in a full day at work and I got woke up way too early. So, you know, bear with me. I just wanted to cover this and get this done for you so you guys know what happened with it. You guys know I love sharing with you what happened during Cardboard Slayer, and that's what happened with this thing. So all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so, so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live streams. We got regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments. I love some feedback. If you've got some understanding about what happened here with the blade grind and the geometry and all that, you know, share it with us. I like learning these things. And of course, I'm going to plug some products from friends of the channel. They're not affiliate links. I don't get paid for them, just supporting some friends. I do have the Amazon shop, but you don't have to use it. But here you go. And as always, we are going to link up to Cutting Lacey EDC's Diamond Emulsion if you want to step your stropping game up, make it easier to sharpen your blades, and keep them sharp. Wonderful product. I use it myself on every single knife I sharpen now. And we are going to link up to Mad Yocco's wax. If you want to protect your blades that are prone to corrosion, if you want to darken up the color of your micarta, or take care of a million other things, he is going to be on Blade Binge with his wax. All right, just supporting some friends of the channel and some small businesses. All right, Y'all have a nice day.